On Tobago updates, guys, and we are talking this morning about World Maritime Day 2023. And in studio, we have Ricardo Alfred, and he is a maritime surveyor and marine engineer. Good morning and welcome to our program this morning.
Yes, good morning.
I
Nice to be
know
here.
our viewers would be wondering what is a maritime surveyor, a marine engineer, and what are the roles and responsibilities of such a position?
Right. So, first, the maritime industry is a very uh, lucrative industry. Um, as a maritime surveyor, I am basically charged with ensuring that ships are seaworthy as it relates to the hull integrity, as relates to the engine, ensuring that the maintenance part of it is taken care of. Um, and as a marine engineer, I also ensure um, things around from shipbuilding to ship maintenance to various other things as relates to the marine industry. I would have been able to travel on various countries over my career. I've been in this field since 2002, actually, to present. Um, this would have took me from ships like the Panorama, the Viewport, things like the Warrior Spirit, the tugs, the water taxis, and the fast ferries, as well as some international experience on some tugs, container vessels, um, a lot of tankers as well. But the aim of this really was to really ensure that I would have had a very diverse career as relates to my field. I have a marine engineer license, which is an unlimited license that allows me to work on various types of vessels as an engineer. And so I have no limitation as relates to the size of the vessel. I'm also a engineering examiner, which I also ensure that the young persons, um, I would examine them in terms of giving them their certification. And so as a surveyor, I also ensure these a lot of the well in Tobago case you have only these little small boats, but there's a much larger scope as relates to that part of it.
Right. So this is a very wide and broad industry, and your scope is very far-reaching, which is,
Mm.
sounds very interesting. And not very often you hear about people in this industry, especially in Trinidad and well, at least for the Tobago
Yeah,
aspects of it. And you're saying that this career really is about the maintenance of ships and ensuring that they're seaworthy. What does it qualify to be seaworthy?
right. So normally, if I start to examine a ship, what I will do is, if the ship is in the water, I would want to go on board the vessel and I would want to check the lowest part of the vessel to ensure if there's any breach of the hull in terms of any water coming in. You look at the engine, if you see any oil stains or any compromising stuff that you would see on the engine. So you want to check the maintenance log. You want to ensure that the persons who are operating this craft are duly certified. Ensure that their maintenance are kept up to date. Um, in the Tobago's case, if you look at these smaller vessels like the reef boats, these are all wooden type ships. Every year, they have to be inspected. They will have to come out of the water to ensure that the person or the owner that is who is in charge of the vessel have to be able to remove things like barnacles. They have to do work on the engine. So I ensure all these things are done to ensure that they be able to get a certificate of compliance or a safety certificate to ensure that they can continue the trade.
Right, and I'm sure this inspection, of course, you will find these things only with a trained eye because I
Mm.
might walk through a vessel and I might not see anything that looks compromising to me. So I'm sure, I'm absolutely certain it's because of your trained eye. Now, tell us a little bit about World Maritime Day and what this signifies, what it represents, and what is your role or Tobago's role in the celebration of this day.
World Maritime Day signifies a lot today, well, to me, because it's an industry that I believe that Tobago has a lot of potential in, being as how our geographic location. Um, when you look at the maritime industry, it's very wide as relates from not just ships, but into the entire port development as relates to, building things like a jetty, a shipyard, the dry dock facilities. So it's very far-reaching. Um, it also includes the fishing industry. If you look at what is happening with the this red card issue, um, now it is not really so much of a concern for Tobago, I would say. Um, Currently, most of the clients are mostly US based. It can affect Tobago and, well, with Trinidad and Tobago if the US and all these countries that are signed to that convention decide to hold one head. But currently, right now, the most of our clients are in the US. The maritime industry, as I said, is far-reaching. It allows persons or professionals to take a step back and see where we are as relates to the whole maritime industry. More, I would say, could be done in our industry. Um, there's a lot of stuff that we have not really explored as relates to the maritime industry, meaning in terms of, because if Tobago was a country, then we could talk things like Tobago waters, and then you will have up to 200 nautical miles that we can explore. Um, Sadly, that is not the case. The case with the country is Trinidad and Tobago, and we have to look at that region and how much jurisdiction we have. So Tobago is quite poised as relates to how it's located, because every ship coming to Trinidad past Tobago, we are the first island or port of entry, if you want to say that. So if Tobago, maybe let's say, have um, a hub, a transshipment hub, I can see a lot of ships coming here, because now in the marine industry, one is looking at the price of fuel. So that's why you have a lot of alternative ships coming out now to provide alternative fuel. In the next 5 years, most of the ships building now will be, they will have a different fuel on it. It will be like mostly natural gas, and I know they're looking at this diesel electric. So for me in my career, it's a learning process. I am keep learning. I'm keeping up to date with the different maritime trends. I would have went on from a degree in marine engineering into a master's in port and maritime management, which allows me to really understand how ports are run, how to design a port, the different structures you would need of making a port efficient, the marine industry in terms of shipbuilding and having the different, charter party arrangements, and, having a better understanding. So it's a learning process all the time. But I'm quite pleased as to where we are now as a country. More could be done, but we are growing. So I would advise, if there's anybody who wants to get involved in the field, there are certain things that people don't tell you, but this career could be a very lonely life.
I would
Yes,
expect so.
yes, yes, yes.
You mentioned something earlier. You said that Tobago is the hub because that is where ships pass Tobago to get to Trinidad.
Yes.
And we know that's where they land and they disembark and they do whatever they do there. But is there any conversation happening now? You mentioned that if we build that term that you use, it's
Transshipment hub.
transshipment. Is there any conversation being had now in terms of implementing one of those?
Well, I know I heard the secretary, Mr. James, would have identified what's the plans for Scarborough, the bigger picture. It's a good plan. The aim of it, really, I would say, is to really identify an area where you could have cargo, where you could have passengers, and where you could have a cruise ship. These are all three different structures. So I would say it's a conversation that is happening in this space. As where it is right now, we're not really sure, but these are the type of conversations that we should be having, because if we are able to have vessels come directly here, it will definitely reduce the input price for hardwares. It will definitely reduce a lot of material coming right here, and you could end up in a case where Tobago could become the hub and stuff going down to Trinidad domestically. So
that will be absolutely awesome.
Yeah, but Building a port it's a sunk cost. It's a cost that you will never be able to regain. It's a huge cost because in designing a port, you have to know what type of port you want. If I were to look at what's happening with China, they have a fully automated port, fully automated, and so forklift drives to the serve. The vessels come into port via magnets.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really anybody pulling the ship. So
Right.
it's a you have to identify what type of port you want, the type of concrete, how much psi, what the weight of these things. You have to be able to know things like your how many yard space you would want, because the new ships that are building now is something called the Panamax, which allows a ship up to 30,000 containers. So storage and the berthing spaces, there's a lot of factors in place in when designing a port. So we just have to be careful as to what we want. And right now, the growing trend is that you start the conversations with the container companies. I give an example of what's happened in Jamaica. Jamaica had an agreement with a shipping line called Merce. They came in, they restructured the port. The port only operates as a landlord, and they allow the private sector to design and run the port. Now Jamaica is actually leading in the Caribbean as relates to shipping. They have the largest transshipment hub in the Caribbean. Well, in the region.
Right. This is a really, really interesting
Mm.
conversation, a really interesting
Yes,
topic. And I understand now why you said it could be a lonely life, because it's so far
yes,
reaching,
yes,
and the
yes.
research you'd have to do and put in the time you'd have to put in for your research to get your information and stuff like that can be time consuming. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Ricardo Alfred, and he is a marine. Tell me the title
Yes,
again.
it's a marine engineer, maritime surveyor.
That's right. And we were talking about World Maritime Day and the importance of ensuring that you have good maritime functions in Trinidad and Tobago and in the world at large. This is where we end this conversation this morning, and we're going straight into a break, and we will return with our next guest. But before we go, of course, we invite you to share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be back.